correct.
Good. Okay. So thank you so much for having me, and it's nice to be here. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that has long been stigmatized and is more and more coming to the surface, both in general industry, also in the maritime industry. So it's menopause at work, why it matters for safety, retention, and leadership, and a strategic opportunity for a safer, stronger, and more inclusive maritime industry. I see this conversation around menopause and female health as a big topic within the piece of equity. There was a recent study, I'm just going to mention that first of all, in Denmark by the University of Copenhagen of 150,000 women, how they experienced menopause. 97% of these women have symptoms. 97% of women have symptoms. 1 in 3 women experience debilitating symptoms that have a huge impact on the workplace. And then we know that 1 in 10 women have left the workplace. So we can no longer ignore this conversation. This is not doom and gloom. I just want to be clear on that. It is an opportunity. So it's not doom and gloom. We are not sick. It's a transition. It's a natural transition. But if we don't know how to take care of ourselves and support the employees, then we can be longer in ill health. Also, I just want to clarify that this is not a conversation just about, it's not either or women or men. I find the companies I work with and the women I work with that when you open this conversation, other perceived difficult, stigmatized conversations are also opened. So we are going to talk about the wake-up call, what's happening globally, the reality, what menopause really means in working life, in workplaces, the opportunity, why supporting this transition strengthens safety and leadership, and then go a little bit into the future, how we can take small practical steps right now, today. So, as you know, my name is Toril Stokes. I'm the founder of Pause Effect. Here I am with my 3 now big children. I'm accredited leadership and menopause coach from women of a certain stage here in the UK. I worked for many years with Tradewinds. I started my career in Tradewinds in 1997, and then I went on to have children, etc. I was in early menopause at 42, unawarely. I didn't know at the time. At the same time, I was also going through a separation and divorce with 3 young children. We know, why am I saying this? Because we know that stress exacerbates symptoms. And at a stage where there's a lot to hold, this is the reality for many women. Based on my own experiences, I also worked for Stena, by the way. There might be somebody here from Northern Marine or Stena, but I worked for Stena for many years here in the UK, in London as well. I'm originally from Norway, you may hear from the accent, but I've lived here for nearly 30 years. So based on my own experience, I decided I didn't want one more woman to feel alone at this stage and to feel like she didn't have a choice but to leave her job, and to feel these levels of anxiety and lacking confidence that I did at the time. So that's my mission, is to change this as an opportunity for companies. So big news recently in the UK. From next year, there's going to be routine menopause checks for all women 40 plus. I say this because as part of medical studies, menopause and female health has been a non-existent really topic. In some countries, it's optional, and in the UK, it's now finally coming in as a topic you have to study. In 2027, again in the UK, because UK, I will refer to the UK quite a bit, because UK is at the forefront of initiatives and legislations within female health and menopause. So from 2027, companies with more than 250 employees will have to have a menopause action plan as part of the gender pay gap reporting. Why wait? Why not start now so that you are the leader in our industry? Within the EU, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of momentum to introduce comprehensive women's health and menopause strategies. And so there's a lot going on around Europe, around the world, really, to put this conversation, not just as an awareness piece, but actually implementing support and making change so that we see more women stay in the workplace and attract more women in. In the Nordic region, Sweden and Finland have just announced that they are going to do concrete steps. And Denmark had this huge survey of 155,000 women. They're going to continue this survey every 4 years. Norway is lagging a little bit behind, but things are happening. And the female health strategy was announced in 2024. I've just come back from India, from the Maritime CEO conference, where I held a presentation and a workshop around this. And actually some states in India have, on the governmental level, have introduced monthly menstrual leave policies. So a day per month menstrual leave. This really gives a signal that female health is now starting more and more to be taken seriously, finally. For those who don't know, the Greek Foundation in Norway are investing heavily with the Bergen University into a project called CLAR, which is looking at menopause in the workplace and what's happening. And so far, the results will be ready, I believe, in 2027. But so far, the signals are similar to those from the UK in 2022 by the Fawcett study. So this is from 2009 in Shanghai, where I organized a conference for trade winds with my colleagues. And there's one woman amongst, I think, about 40. We don't have all the men here, but there were about 40 in total. I know that things have changed a lot in our industry as well, yet we do still see too many boardrooms, too many offices, too many conferences, a picture like this. So what if your workforce, what if 40% of your workforce was quietly checking out? That's the reality today. And it doesn't mean that women want to check out. But it just means simply, and I'm going to come into this, that the symptoms that we experience, the experiences around perimenopause and menopause, are for many women having an impact on how they feel, how they show up, confidence levels, energy, etc. So is this your responsibility? That's a question we often hear. If we think about all the other things we're doing for mental health and well-being, and all the mental health conversation, how that's evolved for men and women, and all the other things we do to support our seafarers, our staff on shore, I really believe it is our responsibility, because the impact of psychological challenges in menopause are the ones that often impact the workplace the most. But we've known so little up until now. So I'm going to go in, just checking on my time. Yep, I'm going to go in, what is menopause? And I'm not going to go into big details here, but generally speaking, the actual menopause is the one day when a woman hasn't had her period for 12 consecutive months. The average age in Europe is between 51 to 53. In other countries, for example, India, it's between 45 to 47. So it's earlier in some countries, generally speaking, around 50. Perimenopause is the stage leading up to the actual menopause. And in perimenopause, this is the stage where women experience the highest fluctuations in hormones. So estrogen, progesterone, and also testosterone. Estrogen impacts every single cell in our body, so cognitive, physical, etc. Perimenopause happens generally, on average, between 40 to 45, and it can last longer for some women. For me, it started at 42, like I mentioned, so it really is an individual journey. Postmenopause, so these are the three main sort of stages, is the entire life after menopause. So postmenopause, we can be in postmenopause for 30 years plus, and this is often when we see the consequences of how we've lived in perimenopause and menopause. So that's why it's important to know as a woman as well and take responsibility for how we live our lives throughout this whole stage. Then there's early menopause and POI, premature ovarian insufficiency, affects 1 to 2%. Early menopause can be brought about by, for example, hysterectomy and cancer-induced treatments, which can be really quite a shocking experience. I worked with many women who've been in early menopause and were not prepared at all, and have found also they didn't have the support they needed from the medical profession. This is changing, but there's still a lot to do. So some of the menopause symptoms include these. I have highlighted in pink the ones that tend to impact the workplace the most, women at work. So as you see, it's well beyond hot flushes and night sweats, sleep disturbances, brain fog, mood changes, all these symptoms. There are many more. I didn't sort of want to go into the doom and gloom of how we may be feeling at this stage, but these are some of the symptoms. And again, important that we as women are aware, and also as employer are aware that this is a transition, right? It's not gonna last forever. So this is kind of obvious, but fatigue and sleep disruption, impaired focus and reaction time, etc., etc. I'm not going to stay too long on this. It's just being aware and knowing what can and may happen. The point is also that not one woman experiences symptoms the same, and it's not like a uphill scale. It fluctuates, and especially in perimenopause, it can fluctuate a lot. One of the things I didn't include on the slide is the menstruation can really be irregular, and you can bleed a lot more. So I'm thinking maybe especially for women on board ships, it can be really, really bothersome to experience this, and it can be earlier than what we think. So these are some of the costs that are associated with lack of supports. And this is why more and more governments are taking this topic seriously. So it's not just about sick leave. It's about women withdrawing, stepping back, having to replace women. The cost of that is a lot more than actually implementing supports. Many women I've worked with are in senior positions, and they may well decline promotions. They may, again, draw back from what they used to be comfortable doing before. And when you, as a woman, experience hot flushes in the office just before a meeting, it's uncomfortable if it's not okay to talk about it. Okay, so I met this amazing, some of you may know her, Ivana Kulkarni, captain, and I met her in India, and we had really good chats about what it is, what life at sea is about, because let's face it, I've never been to sea, so it was really interesting for me to meet all these women at sea and the cadets that are going to be at sea, and see some of the things that she was mentioning. So things like basic needs, like having sanitary products. That not being standard, I think that's an opportunity for our industry to really, really look at. Okay, so we talk about safety, we talk about performance, inclusion, etc. So I'm just going to, 1 second, hide something here. Okay. So when we think about Ivana was saying this to me as well. As soon as a woman enter the ship, as soon as a woman enter this environment, something happens, and it's not necessarily about 50-50, but it's about creating an environment where we both have men and women, and all of us feel comfortable in showing up in our best authentic self. So when we can have more women on board, more women on ships, more women in offices, perhaps something happens in the atmosphere, and for other women then to also be more authentic. And we need more women to be creative, to feel like they can show up and speak their truth for all the challenges we have going forward. I know that this is often talked about in our industry as well. So Anne-Gry Reitan Ringen, she's founder of Crown Defence. She works with security. She works with many maritime companies, and that's one of her sort of quotes. We have also seen in the UK that companies being taken to court by women who have not been supported in menopause have gone up something like crazy, like 200% in the last few years. With the awareness and more women, more companies being more aware, we have to take this into consideration as well. And this is also part of the 2027 incoming legislation. So it doesn't have to be big steps. It can be small things. It can be starting, with access to sanitary health products for those in perimenopause who experience being caught off guard with heavy bleeding, clear policies and frameworks, visible communication. I think all these things are really important, but most of all is that you as leadership show that you are not afraid of this conversation, that it's as natural to talk about menopause, menstruation, and these things as it is about talking about other mental health and stigmatized from before conversations. So 5 steps to implementation. This is one idea how we can start. So, understanding the full human experience. It's also around life transitions, generally pregnancy, birth, IVF treatments, menstruation, etc., etc. So integrating female health into leadership, HR, and training frameworks, educate and provide spaces, safe spaces. Many companies, including menopause-friendly, so-called menopause-friendly companies like the blue chips, like the big, Channel 4, BBC, Royal Mail, they have included things like menopause cafes. They have assigned a menopause champion, and there's a lot of small things that can be done that don't necessarily cost a lot or require a lot. And then evaluate through questionnaires, evaluate through asking the women what is it that they need. Okay. I met some of the younger cadets, as I said, in India, and some of them expressed to me that they are worried about going to sea because they are worried about their superior not being comfortable talking about menstruation, period pains, and having access to these things. Here's 2 of them. So the conversation is not complete until everyone is in the room. And this, of course, is more than men and women. But from my perspective and what I work with, it's all around female health and the menopause. And closing the women's health gap could unlock a huge opportunity in the whole world, globally. So I have made a free menopause managers toolkit. So if you would like to download, it's basically a 4-page just sort of starters toolkit. So if you want to download that, you can fill in your details and I will send that to you. And obviously feel free to connect with me. And if you want to start this conversation within your company, I'd be really honored to help and support you. And I am actually 5 minutes early, so we have plenty of time for questions and discussions, etc. But I hope that sort of gives a little bit of background to the why it's important, and a little bit to what one can start doing. Okay, thank you so much.
Lovely, and please leave this screen. Please leave this screen for us. I've just taken a screenshot myself. Okay. Obviously, I will definitely have your presentation and I will be sending it, but I would like also to include in my message out this screenshot for people to actually make it very easy for them so they can do things. Ral is impatiently putting his hand up. I've got quite a lot of questions here. So Ral, I'll start with you, but then I encourage everybody on this call, please, let's talk. Ral.
Yeah, thanks, Kuba. Just a warning to everybody. Kuba had trouble recording. I'm trying something by doing a screen recording at home and seeing if I can do it. So just a warning, you may be being recorded after all. Told, we've spoken about this before. I saw you speak at Spinnaker event a while ago, and I think this is such an important topic because we're trying to get more and more women into shipping industry. But if we are, we really need to think about the long game and really think about what that means and what it really means to understand these things, which I'll be honest, until I thought I was pretty clued up until I saw your presentation, and there were just many more dimensions that I hadn't thought about. And today, again, you've introduced some other things to think about. So I really want to thank you, and I really want to encourage, everybody to really think about this subject and what it means, principally because it explains, I think, why we struggle to get women into senior positions and boardroom, because at the point at which they're reaching that, where they're competing for those top spots, they're dealing with a completely different set of things than their male counterparts are. And so the simplicity of what you're talking about there, a lot of it is just simply about starting conversations and about acknowledging and letting people kind of, express how they're feeling. So that was my kind of, I just wanted to kind of say that. But the thing that was new to me today, and I know that our audience is very compliance driven, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about the laws that you said that were coming in the UK, because often these things then become part of other, countries pick them up as well. So that would be something that I'd really like to dig into a little bit more.
Okay, thank you so much. Can I stop sharing, because I'd really like to see the faces and I can't. Are you okay with me?
Now you can, indeed. Thank you for this. It was paused long enough. We had a chance to record ourselves on it. So, and then I will definitely send it as well.
Okay,
Yes.
great. All right. Thank you so much. And thanks, Ralph, for your comments. And I think that's really spot on. It's, we've seen sort of incremental change in our industry in terms of women. There's the latest IMO maritime report as well, but the big changes are yet to sort of, the true progress is yet to be seen. And I agree, I think this is a huge part of this, retaining the women. So the UK legislation, I'm very happy to send through to Kuba to you as well, so you can share the BSI standards, because that gives a huge amount of resources as well, and some links to government and the incoming legislation. In short, it will be required by UK companies with more than 250 employees to show that they have support initiatives in place, and that can be things like policies. I think there's yet a lot of detail to come, and there may well be people from HR who know even more detail about this than I do. But I'd be very happy to provide some links and things where you can read up more. I just think, in principle, it's coming in, and this will be followed in other countries as well. Excuse me. Typically in Norway. So the female health strategy was announced in the UK, I think, in 2019. And in Norway, it was in 2024. And I feel, as a Norwegian living in the UK, that we often are a couple of years behind with certain things. So it's coming, and it's coming in other countries as well. And the EU are looking at it now. So, we don't need to wait until it's actually being implemented. It's coming. So I hope that kind of helps a little.
Thank you, Toril. So I'll jump in, and I've got a question for you, although I think you just responded to this question. I wanted to know whether there are any statistics behind. So the countries which introduced that, would they have enough statistic to show now that since introduction of this, we started seeing more involvement, more engagement, ladies are actually staying in? Or is it far too early to ask for anything like that?
It's very early still. It's really a new thing. Since, I don't know, for us again in the UK, the Vinna McCall had a program in 2022. So just after COVID, around COVID, this topic became more and more visible, and the same in the US, etc. But it's too early. But we have seen that companies like BBC, the big companies in the UK who have implemented support, they see that women tend to stay longer. They take a bigger part in the workplace. So the evidence is there, but the actual numbers, I don't think we have yet, no.
Perfect. Now, are you talking to Vista? Are you engaged with Vista?
I'm engaged with Vista. I met a few Vistas women in India, and I'm talking to Sanjam, so I spoke at conference, and also Women Together. So I'm really, building a lot of resilience in knocking on doors and getting the conversation high up on the agenda. I did a presentation for Vista a few years ago, so it'd be good to get back in and do something with them.
And the reason I'm saying that is because this is very highly regarded organization within the shipping industry. And we need to not just have one accidental presentation from you. I think we need to create some sort of a front, maybe to soldiery term, but, have allies working together on this one. Because yesterday we were just briefly chatting on this issue. From our point of view, senior managers, we do really struggle to get involvement of ladies at the higher level. And it's not a complaint. I am really always trying to find the root cause for all of this. And obviously, I have been married nearly 40 years, and we went through menopause, both probably of us, because we are 60 now. And I learned a lot from Ranita when this was all happening. So I'm finding it a bit interesting, because I think everything starts with the family. If you've got a very strong family, you've got very good friends and everything, and you are not afraid of talk because you talk about those things like any other things, pregnancy because we had a child, like moving through and so on and so forth. So I think that helps enormously. It's very interesting now because I'm finding it more and more that organizations are supposed to, or it is probably best practice to actually look into it. But then I've got a very specific question for you, and I haven't seen your toolkit, but Torrid, I am sometimes finding myself being pretty open person and direct because I'm Polish, so I go direct for the point, that my wife says, hold on, don't move that fast. We are in different cultures, okay? And in shipping, for example, I would definitely like us, you and myself, to start talking to the Filipinos and see how we can actually get, because 33% of seafarers are Filipino seafarers. And we are seeing more and more Filipino ladies joining us. They are joining us at the very high ranking. We, in InterManager, we've got 2 female board members, American and Filipino. And Filipinos, they are very important for us. So I would like to move on. And my question to you is, did you look into this particular issue with the culture lenses? So would allow us, males, look at me, give me a tool where I can actually confidently breach this subject to Indian, Filipino, Polish, Ukrainian, British, and so on and so forth. So culture toolkit lens into what you are saying, please.
It's a really, really good question. First of all, I think that the most important thing is that we don't just open up this conversation and leave women hanging there, because we've done so much of that for many, many years. So I know I'm not meant to sell myself, and I won't, but I will just mention that part of the thing that I do offer is a menopause plan. So having said that, the cultural aspect is really, really important. And at the same time, because I met so many women from around the world and worked with women from around the world, I think we cannot take away the fact that we use culture as, and I don't mean an excuse, and I don't mean to say it in that way, but I think it's really important to remember that all women all around the world have the same needs of being seen and heard and listened to through this stage. So we mustn't be afraid of different cultures either, if that makes sense. But definitely an important point, of course, and something that's a really good idea to create a toolkit also, from different perspectives and cultures, etc. But I know from the women I met in India and from women I work with that they also want their superior to be more open, to be able to talk about this. So
this is brilliant, because obviously you can look at this as the movement from down upwards, and then obviously if the upwards move down meets together. So I'm thinking, Raul, hopefully we will stay on a call after that, because that could be a project for InterManager and our ladies together with Vista. If we join the ranks and we prepare that kind of toolkit, because InterManager has access to many nationalities, seafarers and people in the office, and it would be a very low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, to get involved, and at least it will raise the awareness if we didn't produce something really, really meaningful. But I'm very hopeful. Yes, Raul, please.
Can I just add one thing, Rob, before? Is that okay? Because
sure, go.
As important as culture and cultural background is also socioeconomic. So having access to the right support, meaning hormone replacement therapy for those who can take that, is also impacting, and is also very varied according to where you live and where you're growing up, how much money you have, etc. So as an industry also to come together to look at opportunities there is really important. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in on your point, Torild, about talk is cheap. I know you didn't say that, but I think it's very easy. I think you said don't leave women hanging in there. So I'm kind of interested to know, perhaps it's more of the kind of work that you do with companies about sort of practical things that can, be brought to bear. Now, obviously, you mentioned, for example, making sure that sanitary products and stuff are available at the point of need and stuff like that. That's a kind of very obvious one. But I'm also interested in some of the mechanisms that you can use to perhaps kind of surface things and break down, unconscious bias. And the example that springs to mind is one of the very practical considerations around employing things is that very often women might find themselves on a selection panel, which is all men. And there was an initiative that I was keen to support some years ago where they would provide you with a woman, a senior woman, who could join your panel as a sort of a guest to be a different voice and a different opinion. So that I loved, because it was such a practical approach to say, well, look, this is a problem. There just isn't a diversity of thought on the panel. We can solve that problem if we kind of organising and so I'm just wondering, are there sort of practical things that can be done that take it beyond just a kind of a nice chat and a cup of tea to something that's actually implementable?
Yes, I mean, loads of different things. Generally, what I start doing is to talk to the leadership team, HR, DEI, and host a workshop where we sort of look at where they're at today. Do they have a policy framework in place, and as supports creating those, or working on what they have already, because often they have something. It's not that different. But then beyond the policy, of course, is then implementing the coaching, leadership coaching, creating the safe spaces both for men and women and everyone to be open and talk about this. So I help sort of set up menopause cafes type things, because what we see as well, which is really important to me, is that these small nurturing spaces, not just for women, for everyone who are going through challenges, are really important. So having small groups of women going through, for example, menopause plan, or having a menopause champion at work where they can go and speak to somebody they feel comfortable speaking with. So you sort of, there's a lot of different things that do not take a lot of resources or, time.
I just thought of one extra thing as well, which came up more when I saw you speak before, which of course is that this is something that puts an enormous strain on personal relationships. So even men in the workplace will benefit as well by things that they might be experiencing at home in their personal relationships that they don't understand. So I think that's another dimension too.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, at the Spinnaker event, and I still like to call it the perfect storm. And, in the UK, it's shown that 60% of women who go through divorce are between 44 to 55 or something. And I mean, that's exactly that time. And that's a bit of a red flag. So definitely personal relationships. And we know that these are intertwined. We no longer just sort of go to work and leave home at home, and vice versa. So yeah, I always have men come up to me after a presentation saying how important they think it is, and how they have had their own experiences, and are grateful to learn a little bit more about how to talk to their employees. So yeah.
Okay. Now, I think I'll be taking this definitely to our board, and we'll see what we can do, because no brainer as far as I'm concerned, definitely. And a very interesting initiative. So thank you. I'm just conscious that we don't want to monopolize the floor, Ral and myself. Therefore, any questions from the floor, please? I don't necessarily understand how to read that, but okay, you must have exhausted all angles and everybody is clear on everything. Or, Torild, we still have a problem. We haven't created a safe space for people to speak, you see. We have not.
I apologize.
No, that's probably me, and this is what happens. I will use this opportunity. As a male, it is a huge challenge to venture into those issues, because we are very often either seen as elephant in the room, with the china around, and why are you talking about it? What do you really want? And blah blah blah. So I'm really looking forward to the toolkit for senior male, how to actually comfortably broach the subject and not being seen as intruder. That would be a very interesting point, which helpful, something tangible for those people. Tell us what is okay, what is not okay, how to, what not to. So, Tori, as you can see, I think we definitely have an area where we need to continue our dialogue and see the appetite. So my role now is to create this appetite among our members, encourage them to participate, And I see Ral is very active because Ral brought you in. So Ral, thanks for that. Thank you. I can't force people to speak if they don't want to because they still believe then this is not the area to talk. I accept that and respect that. Toril, you created a very good subject for us and very good environment actually to continue this discussion. Thank you. Moving back to the
just one quick point. I think that as well, it might be the case that a lot of people are listening to this and just need to take it in and absorb and reflect. So, Torald, if they do want to get in touch, do you want to just give us a quick what's the best way to get hold of you?
Yeah. So my email is Torild, T-O-R-I-L-D, Torild, yes, at Torildbo, T-O-R-I-L-D at Torildbo, B-O-E.com. Yes.
Well, if I can, hopefully this recording I've tried, the home recording will work, and we can add that when we share the information anyway. But thanks.
I'm quite active on LinkedIn. And may I just say one thing, because what you're talking to Kuba about not sort of daring to speak up or afraid of saying the wrong thing, the main thing is to create psychological safety. And if we even took the word menopause out and we thought about this as a mental well-being conversation, it belongs just as much as the others. And so psychological safety is the number one thing, no matter what. And you cannot say anything wrong. And even if you listen, deep listening goes a long way. We don't have to have solutions. It's more as a woman being listened to and feel like we are being heard. I think those are
Well, actually, I don't want to open up even further, but what you just said there, Kuba, when we think about how we position this, I think talking about life change is actually a big part of it too, because men also get big drops in testosterone. They have chemical changes in their bodies, nothing to the same degree, but they are things that people then can't explain why they feel listless and that sort of stuff. So I think this is an interesting kind of topic to dig into. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. So
thank you.
Do you want me to stay on, or do you?
Yeah, Tori, no, we will be shutting down shortly, so stay with us, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not have a time for the next 60 minutes at the moment because we haven't got a subject brought by the members yet. We are looking at January, February to restart on 60 minutes. I was thinking, for example, and I know Jurek is here, Jerzy, I think it's time for you to start presenting on your project. So I'm shortlisting you. You could tell us how far you went, what are your problems, what are your issues. Obviously, we've got a paperless ship project, which is coming up, in my opinion, of coming back. That could be something which we need to talk as well. So I will encourage members to actually reach out and start talking to us. With this, I would like to say thank you to everybody. That's all from us today.